what we have done is some of those that are rejected as a specific candidate will not be asked. Please talk to that candidate after the meeting. I see several questions there on 594 and 591. I want all the prosecutors and the sheriff's candidates to know that there's a whole pile of those over there. So that is an issue that a whole lot of people are interested in the outcome of that. And if one of you would want to touch on what the reality of those laws are, would probably clarify some things. I know there's a lot of misinformation on those. Okay. Brenda, which one? We're doing the prosecutor and county commissioners?
We're doing assessor. We are doing the assessor and so commissioners. Sorry, commissioners and assessors first.
Okay.
So back up in the hot seat.
We'll start with Commissioner Mr. Sauer, if you would come up. And
Both commissioners.
both of you, same time.
Equal opportunity harassment.
Good.
What's going on out here?
Okay, for the county commission candidates.
Yes.
First question, is there a code enforcement officer? And why is there so much trash, housing, etc. in the county that seems to be not being attended to? Mr. Sauer, can you start with that?
So if I understand the question, is there a code compliance officer?
Number one, it's called, is there one?
Yes, there is a code compliance officer of the county. We have her name Joyce DeVries. She works out of the building department. As far as the second part of the question, then why is there so much trash and stuff as far as in the county? Why are things picked up, I guess, is the nature of the question. Code compliance is tough. It is it's complaint driven as far as, and we've had some pushback on that sometimes as far as where we're not the police. We don't want to be the house police where we go around and knock on somebody's door and say you got a bunch of trash in the yard, you need to clean it up. But we do have a compliance officer that if I think it takes 2 or 3 neighbors within a 5-mile, and they do it anonymously, they can't submit a complaint basically, and then the compliance officer comes out and investigates it, and if you are out of compliance with the nuisance ordinance, then we send you a nice little friendly letter that says, please clean up your stuff. If you don't do it, it's a long process, and we don't ever like to do it unless we absolutely have to. We will go in, the county will go in and clean it up, and then the cost of that it's a lien against your property. We don't do it very often. It has to be a very severe case for that to happen. We do maybe like one every couple of years that happens.
We have another question from Mr. Richards since you can't really address code enforcement. Yeah, we thought we'd be fair about it. Is that right?
Yeah, let's put that.
Let's put her here, guys. Any more closing time?
What are your specific 3 points that will increase county fiscal responsibility?
3 things that will help the county get its fiscal accountability in order. First of all, you have to take every project that comes along. One of the biggest things is these the infrastructure projects that come up. Instead of coming up with these projects and then immediately applying for grants and loans in order to accomplish them, what needs to happen is we need to pay for them first. If we want something, if we want an overpass in Vision, if we want an industrial park in Dallasport, we need to pay for it. That's the first thing. The second thing that I really believe needs to happen, and this is not just me saying this is the state of Washington, we need to get our books in order. And I should have brought my paperwork up here with me. Last year, the state auditor found that the county was not in compliance with the books with the 2 systems that we have. We have a cash system and we have an accrual system. Is there a time limit?
Yeah.
2 more minutes?
Time limit for those 2?
Yeah. So we need to get these systems jived. We need to get them. What's been happening now is that the county has hired an accountant that's fluent in both systems. That's just a Band-Aid for the problem that we have, which is the two different systems in place. We need to put the time and the effort into getting either, I guess it's on the cash system. The third thing that I want to do as county commissioner is take the salary setting power away from the executive. So I want to put it in an independent board. And there's a provision in the Washington State Constitution for a salary review board. What you do is you take 10 people from the county and you hire them essentially. That's a volunteer thing, I guess. But they review the different pay packages for all the officials around the area and the region, and they come up with a salary that they believe is fair, and then it goes through a few other processes to be approved.
Great, thank you.
David, if you would like to respond to that, Tim.
What are three things? Well, I don't know that I would say three. As far as to get the read the question again to me. So it's all fresh. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Three things as far as for fiscal...
Increased fiscal responsibility.
Increased fiscal responsibility. The county fiscal responsibility. I would say doing kind of what we're doing. The county is being very fiscally responsible now. I think there's some misunderstanding sometimes. I know I would speak to the issue as far as the state audit last year. There were some issues, and those were not unique to last year. The county did switch from accrual to cash, I think about 5 or 6 years ago. We still do some of our accounting, our budgeting is done on the accrual system, and so that has caused some issues with that. The Board of Commissioners was very responsible, and we did hire an accountant, a CPA that came in to assist the auditor in preparing the annual report. And first off, there was never any issue as far as missing money or anything. That's not in, believe me, the state auditor, that would be all over the press if that was going on. It was a difference of opinion of how it was being reported, that there was some confusion. I'm happy to report we completed our state audit on, not the accountability, that's ongoing right now, but on basically the finances, the books, that was about 2 months ago. No findings, everything's good. We fixed the problem as far as, and so we're good going forward. So I would continue to do that. If I'm talking about fiscal responsibility, I would do what we've done, which is we have actually reduced the size of government, county government, and we can have a discussion about what's up so many percent, down so many percent, and all that stuff. Anybody knows you can fool with statistics to get any answer that you want, but you can't fool with the bottom line. The bottom line is that the local, the general fund of the county government used to be $14 million, and today it's about $12 million. So you can talk about how you're going to move stuff around. So I would continue to do. Is that stop or?
You got 1 minute. So.
Don't give me a whole
Now
minute.
Actually,
I'm going to stop there. That's good. I'm going to be sensitive to people.
For the county commissioner, second question, do you plan to pursue state and federal funds for county economic development? Why or why not? Mr. Richard,
One of the things that I'm campaigning on is the fact that I realize that it's not me getting to take my agenda to the Board of County Commissioners. I represent the people. I would be an advocate for fiscal responsibility in all matters. However, I realize that this position is not about me. This is about you. This is about everybody in Bickleton County. If there was a huge push for people that wanted to do economic development, I would advocate against it, but I would have to do it ultimately if the majority of opinion was that they wanted to get something like this done.
I think I've been clear about this before. Yes, I would. I mean, I have and I would continue to pursue state and federal grants. We can have I too am concerned about federal and state spending, but that's not my job. My job as a county commissioner is to represent the citizens' interest and to get every advantage I possibly can for the citizens of this county. And I can say, as far as for economic development purposes, it's really almost impossible for a small county, a rural county like this, to be able to build some of this infrastructure without federal and state assistance. When we talk about the overpass, that's a big hot item in the west end of the county because it is so critical to the long-term survival of the aerospace industry there with in situ, which is now 23% of the payroll of the county is in that industry that didn't exist there 10 years ago. And they've identified we need an overpass for a second way that's not an at-grade crossing. Well, the lowest figure for what that piece of infrastructure costs is $22 million. We will never, I couldn't save, I mean, I guess we could save $22 million. We've basically almost done it now. But it would take every dollar we had just to build one overpass. And so we need federal and state assistance for these big ticket items. And so yes, I will definitely continue to do that to grow jobs and to grow the economy here.
Last question, that this comes from the East County folks more than anybody else. Two-part. First, a statement for the two commissioners. Goldendale is not the east end of the county.
Bickleton is not the east end of the county either.
I say that for a reason. We've read for years and years and years that the county line stopped at Goldendale. For the county commissioners, do you believe you have a role in helping to market our county landfill? To market our county landfill, why or why not?
Yes, definitely. I mean, that's been a big signature piece of kind of what I've done over the last 8 years. As I said, I'm kind of rehashing stuff. You know, the landfill is critically important, not just to folks in the East County. The benefits from that landfill accrue to every single person in the state, in Bickleton County, in lower taxes, in our ability, the dollars that come from that are what gives us the ability to be able to leverage other grants to, and to be able to really to participate. And I've talked about this before, about how the world is run by those that show up. In Bickleton County, we are in a unique position because we actually have a couple dollars. And we have an inordinate amount of influence in the state for a county of our size. And the reason that is because we can actually send people to go and to participate if there is a study that we need to do where the, we'll call them the environmental left, is saying that, oh, you can't do that because you're going to impact some snail or a bug or something else. We actually have the ability to say, you know, you don't know what you're talking about, and because we have the data right here because we collected it and our scientists are actually better than yours. And that gives us a real advantage that other counties don't. And so that key to that is keeping that landfill strong, keeping those contracts coming here to Bickleton County. That is economic development that it accrues to absolutely everybody across the county. So yes, is my short answer.
Regarding Republic Services and the landfill, Republic Services, and I've said this before, Republic Services is a $20 billion corporation. Last year, they profited $3 billion off revenues of $8 billion. They have 35,000 employees in 39 states across the country. Why? Why do we use taxpayer money to try to generate revenue and keep these marketing contracts with other entities? It doesn't make any sense. I'm sure Republic Services has their own marketing capabilities, their own marketing departments. I don't believe, I looked through the RCWs, I've looked through the Washington State Constitution. I cannot find where the authority is granted to a county commissioner or any other member of the county government to market on behalf of a private corporation. I recognize that this contract exists. I would point out too that up until January 2013, there was another, 2014, there was another contract that existed that was found to be illegal. And so I really honestly can say that I personally would not be fulfilling that obligation of marketing for Republic Services.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Tony Johnson and Mr. Shorter, please. Well, they're coming up. I'm going to, it's a question that I see it many times, so it's I'm going to make a statement out of it to all candidates. Do you anticipate an increase in the budget for the office you are running for? I don't know if that means budget for the office or if it means individual pay, if we, or you're going to raise your own salaries. But I've seen it more than once, so I bring that up to all candidates, that it's was asked more than once about budgets. So I don't know if it makes any difference, but I felt it was need to be said. For the assessors.
Wait, where's Rick? We need Rick.
Okay, Rick Palmer, for those of you who don't know, is our school superintendent, Bickleton School. Very valid question on taxing and wind farms. Mr. Palmer.
Thank you. Rick Palmer, Superintendent of the School District. The question I have deals with wind turbine industry protest of taxes and how that affects our bond. 6 years ago, we ran a bond when Van Vandenberg was the assessor, and at that time, we ran the bond for 10 years. We knew what the assessed value of those towers were going to be for those 10 years. And so our bond rate, our tax payment for that was static at that point. Van has left, and now we're on a depreciation schedule, which is counterproductive to a bond because anybody that's been around bonds, the bond payments are low at the beginning and high at the end. Depreciation is high at the front and low on the end. So it creates a bit of a struggle with it. But at this point in time, what concerns me is that the protest of taxes that the wind companies are doing, and it's a tune of somewhere around $50 million that is not going out to the taxing districts to help defray some of the costs of our bond rate and what we pay in taxes. And so my question to that is how are we going to keep those dollars available to us, the taxing districts out here where we are people poor and land rich? And the second part of that is how are we going to assess this industry that benefits us and not them, i.e. whether it be depreciation or static. I know they're going to an income taxation, that they only want to be taxed on what income they're going to generate, which if that happens, I'm probably moving. So, because they don't make any money, they don't pay anybody anything, and that was exactly. So how are we going to deal with that?
Who do you want to answer first? Go ahead. Do I only get 5 minutes? 3 minutes. Okay, there's a lot of questions there.
Yes.
So let me start with why the assessment changed. And I know I've been out to Bickleton to explain that to you. Initially, Van had come up with the $650,000 per megawatt flat value for 10 years, and at the end of the 10 years, it would drop off to, it would go to an income-based approach. So that was the previous method. The new method that was recommended by the Department of Revenue is based on the historical cost to build less a 30% credit. And the historical cost to build was on average was about $1.6 million. And when you apply that depreciation schedule, it was up in the $1.2 million range instead of the $650,000. So that assessed value actually doubled when we went to the new method. Now, the new method, based on that average cost, it doesn't drop below that $650,000 until like year 9. And I can tell you that if we would have gone and stayed with that $650,000 per megawatt, the wind turbines would have been very happy in the beginning because they were so far below their historical cost to build. But as soon as it dropped below, they would be appealing. Now, your question on moving towards a new method, I'm going to run out of time. The Department of Revenue has recommended the method that we've been using based on historical cost to build. They've always mentioned that they may go to the income approach. I'm very scared about going to the income approach. I've seen the price per megawatt. It used to be about $68 per kilowatt hour, and it's down to $38. And so that means that that assessed value when it was built in 2008, 2009 was based on those projected values, and they're now half of that. So I don't really want to go to that method because I don't think it's very helpful. Then speaking to the, to the actual, your original questions, the disputed value. The wind turbines have appealed, Juniper Canyon has appealed their value 3 years in a row. Their value of that is more than 1/4 of 1% of the value in the county. So it's now considered a highly disputed value. So that value has not been used to calculate any of your levies. When that value is finally decided, either at the Board of Tax Appeals, or if I work with the prosecuting attorney and we come up with some sort of resolution, then that value will be added back into your levy rates.
Good job.
I know I was just leaving the assessor's office when the turbines were being constructed, and I've been involved somewhat with them during the construction through the planning and whatnot. And I know that Van worked very, very hard with the taxing districts, the state, as well as the companies to try to come up with a method that was a win-win for everybody. I understand that then the Department of Revenue came in and said, hey, this is our recommended way of doing it. And the one thing that everybody needs to understand is the Department of Revenue is an advisory board or an advisory entity. They help the assessor's office, you know, if there's a gray area within a law or something like that, they help them with that. Anything else that they advise the assessors on, based on like a tax advisory or something like that, the assessor's office doesn't necessarily have to follow their way if your way is still legal. There has not been a tremendous amount of information coming out regarding the wind turbines and if maintenance or repairs or something like that are being added back into the value. So I think with the wind turbines, it would have to be something that when I get in the office, I would really have to dig in deep and see which really is the best way for the citizens of Klickitat County. As far as the appeals, I'm aware that there are those 3 appeals out there, and also that that is major levy rate higher than you had thought. So that's where I stand on that.
Okay,
Thank you.
start with Darlene. How are values for farmland determined?
So when it comes to farmland, you guys have 2 different values. The first one is going to be your market value. The market value is based on typically comparable sales of similar farmland in your area. The other value that we carry on that is the actual assessed value. Since you're enrolled in the current use program, that means that you get to be valued at the productive capacity of your land. This is where your open space advisory board and your farmer friends get to help me tell me what is the productive capacity of that land. We take a look at how many bushels per acre, if it's wheatland, how many bushels per acre does it produce. We look at typical costs that are associated with it, and we will come up with a net value at the end, and then the Department of Revenue gives us a capitalization rate that we use every year. We apply that capitalization rate to the theoretical net profit that you earn off of the land. And that's how your value's been determined. It's been very frustrating for me as the assessor because the capitalization rate has been dropping. And as the capitalization drops, your land values automatically increase. I would say I'm really, really excited because we have a very active board. And this last year, we were able to bring in some fuel costs and transportation costs that we hadn't considered in setting up values. And that kind of counteract that potential increase that we were going to have from that increase in the capitalization rate. So.
Kristen, you want to touch on that?
She should. That is the way they're calculated. You have your market value and then you have your current use value. And those are only properties that are actually in the Open Space Taxation Act Farm and Ag portion of that. If you're just farming your land and you don't apply to be in that program, then you'll just have the market value on your properties. So, but Darlene did explain that well, so there's really nothing to expound on that.
I'm not gonna try to ask the question because I'm not sure what it is, but we talked on the phone the other day, Darlene, about this proposal for the county commissioners and change of force demands. Could you explain what that is and comment on it? You know?
Let Krista go first this time.
Sure.
As a planner within Craighead County, I sat in on those meetings also with the Board of County Commissioners. A lot of people get really confused with the difference between a classification that you apply to have your land in with the assessor's office and whether your property is zoned designated forest. So starting back in 2007, there was legislature that was presented to try to reduce the minimum acreage requirement for designated forest. And it didn't pass at that point. The assessors as a whole weren't really for it. However, this spring it did pass through legislature, and it started in June that they reduced the acreage of designated forest down to 5 acres, which is similar to the open space taxation timber program. And so also within that legislature, they allowed the county commissioners to then combine those two programs. And basically, from this point on, it will be just designated forest for applications, removals, and it will be implemented 100% through the assessor's office, where before open space timber was with the county commissioners and designated forest was with the assessor's office. So those programs are kind of like the farm program in that you receive a reduced value that you pay taxes on based on your properties or your land's ability to grow trees for harvest purposes, for commercial purposes. Those properties actually do not carry a market value except for your home sites.
So it was Senate Bill 6180 that went into effect June 12th of this summer. And what it did is the whole purpose of it, which was supported by the assessors group for quite a long time, was because the timber program and the designated forest program were so similar, they wanted to merge them together just for the ease of administration. So the bill went forward to be an optional thing that commissioners in each county could decide if they wanted to opt into the program. The way the bill ended up being written, it actually changed the definition of designated forest. So designated forest then became down to 5 acres. So that means now that even if the commissioners don't move forward, which I believe they are moving forward with the merging of the programs, designated forest is now a minimum of 5 acres. And that entire 5 acres has to be devoted to the growth and harvest of timber with a minimum of 100 mature trees or 190 saplings per acre. So this merger has definitely changed what designated forest is, and it's going to make a lot more people eligible to be into the program. One of the things that did change when I took office is that if you were in the designated forest program, you no longer were entitled to an integral home site value, which was a finding by the Department of Revenue when they came through and did our current use review back in 2003, 2007, and 2009. And we now, that first acre for a home site is now valued at market value. It made a big difference, especially on the west side of the county, because they had values that were at $10,000 that jumped up in many cases to $70,000. So they now pay the market value instead of that integral home site value.
Okay, that's it. Does anybody have? And again, just to remind you about the anticipation of the increase in budgets. The only reason I